On the evening of March 21st, 1999, Best Picture was pretty much a foregone conclusion, the same way it was the previous year with Titanic and the year before that with The English Patient. When Steven Spielberg won his inevitable second Best Director Oscar for Saving Private Ryan, everybody could see it coming. The acclaimed World War II epic, released the previous July, was going to take the top prize. It seemed especially fitting once Harrison Ford, Spielberg's longtime collaborator, walked on stage to present the final category. But then, after reading the nominees one more time, Ford opened the envelope, gave a long, dramatic pause, and said this.
Shakespeare in Love. David Carpet, Donna Gelati, Harvey Weinstein, Edward Zwick, and Mark Norman.
There had been a few surprise winners previously in the decade. Marissa Tomei for My Cousin Vinny, Anna Paquin for The Piano. Yes, Best Supporting Actress often had a surprise in store, but Best Picture? Not so much. You could argue The Silence of the Lambs was kind of a shock since horror films never won Best Picture, or that Braveheart didn't exactly have the top award in the bag going into the 1996 ceremony, but nothing, absolutely nothing surprised the world quite like the Best Picture win for Shakespeare in Love. How did this happen? Could we have seen it coming? In this video, I'm going to break down the 1999 Best Picture race and discuss why Shakespeare in Love ultimately defeated Saving Private Ryan. First, let's look at the nominees. The Best Picture lineup at the Academy Awards this year had suspense just in the nominations announcements because there were plenty of major dramas vying for the final 5 slots. Films that missed out included Gods and Monsters, starring Ian McKellen and Lynn Redgrave, Affliction, starring Nick Nolte and James Coburn, and one of my favorite films, The Truman Show, arguably the one that came the closest after its overperformance at the Golden Globe Awards and it snagging a Best Director Oscar nomination for Peter Weir. Something that helped your case this year if you were trying to get a Best Picture Oscar nomination was not to be contemporary or set in the foreseeable future, but to be historical, which was the case of all 5 nominees. The film that had to have been the least likely to win was The Thin Red Line, the first film in 20 years directed by Terrence Malick. I'll never forget seeing a quote around the time of the movie's release that said, and I'm paraphrasing, Terrence Malick picked the wrong year to release a World War II film. And that couldn't have been more true because Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan was such a colossal hit, both critically and commercially, that there really wasn't room, at least when it came to award season, for another movie on the same subject matter. But The Thin Red Line was so brilliant, so gorgeous and devastating and riveting throughout, that there was no way for it to be ignored, especially with its release at year's end, so it could be fresh in Academy voters' minds. What likely hurt it even more than the comparisons to Saving Private Ryan was its large ensemble cast, and the lack of a central star performance for the largest branch of the Academy, the actors, to get excited about. Saving Private Ryan had Tom Hanks, Shakespeare in Love had Gwyneth Paltrow, but The Thin Red Line didn't have one major actor everyone could get behind. And so while it managed 7 Oscar nominations in total, it ended up winning nothing. The Academy had already picked a favorite months earlier, Saving Private Ryan.
It comes down to us, The Thin Red Line, Saving Private Ryan, you know, life is beautiful. I mean, we liberated the concentration camps. And them, the English again. Look at this stuff.
The other nominee for Best Picture that had zero chance of winning was Elizabeth. Not because it was a bad film, it's a stunning achievement, one of the finest of 1998, and not because it didn't have a central star performance Academy voters could be enthusiastic about. Elizabeth made a star out of its lead, Cate Blanchett, who won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama and earned a Best Actress Oscar nomination. It might have had even less of a chance of winning than The Thin Red Line, because it was extraordinarily similar to the movie most voters liked a little bit more that year, Shakespeare in Love. Characters between the movies overlap, 2 major actors, Joseph Fiennes and Geoffrey Rush, between the movies overlap, and Elizabeth has a darker tone overall, while Shakespeare in Love is more lively and upbeat. It was a matter like with Saving Private Ryan and The Thin Red Line of 2 films with similar content that voters had to make a choice between. And instead of choosing Elizabeth, which earned 7 Oscar nominations but only 1 for makeup, they ended up choosing Shakespeare in Love.
But so this will come down to these 2 ones, and I think what's going to happen is the Academy is going to be so confused with what country this is all about that they're basically going to remember that the Academy is Hollywood, and they're just going to go with the blonde.
The other 3 films, I would argue, all had legitimate shots at the top prize. And the Italian comedy drama Life is Beautiful directed by and starring Roberto Benigni, might have gotten even closer to Best Picture than we think. It was a smash at the box office, the most popular international film of the year, making $230 million worldwide, and it was an awards movie juggernaut, earning prizes all around the world before taking home Best Actor at the Screen Actors Guild Awards and heading into the Oscars with 7 nominations. When Jim Carrey won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for The Truman Show a few weeks earlier, in a category that didn't even include Benigni.
What a shocker. I mean, if you look back at some of my earlier dramatic work,
who would have imagined the Best Actor Oscar winner would have been a joyous Benigni walking over chairs and pretending for one night that the Hollywood film industry was his for the taking?
I have been beaten by Roberto Benigni! He has jumped into my ocean!
21 years before Parasite would finally become the first non-English language film to win the Best Picture Oscar, Life is Beautiful could have gotten there first, if it hadn't, like Shakespeare in Love, also been distributed by Miramax. It's ironic in that the film probably got as far as it did at the Oscars because of the Miramax connection, but it also couldn't win the top prize because Miramax had set its sights on something else. Life is Beautiful's subject matter and comedic tone, not to mention its subtitles, also might have put off a few Academy voters too. So at the end of the night, it came down to the two titans, two productions with large ensemble casts set in specific times in history that otherwise couldn't have been more different from each other. Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan and John Madden's Shakespeare in Love. Before we discuss the shocker of a win, let's talk about why so many predicted Saving Private Ryan to take the top prize. The big reason? Spielberg, of course.
I'd like to make you aware, in case there is an emergency, we have to follow Academy protocol. Steven Spielberg first, the rest of you on your own. Okay.
After being shunned by the Academy for so many years, he finally won big in the spring of 1994 for his acclaimed black and white epic drama, Schindler's List. And Saving Private Ryan in the summer of 1998 landed just as well with all the major critics, and by far surpassed Schindler's List at the box office. The opening sequence of Ryan is perhaps the most harrowing and emotionally devastating of Spielberg's now 50-year career making feature films. Everyone able to see he was continuing to grow as a director and take more chances at the technical level to help tell the story the way it needed to be told. It had been a long while since the last great movie about World War II, and this one, with America's favorite actor Tom Hanks in the lead, was the perfect combination of director, actor, and screenplay. Sure, it had only been 5 years since Schindler's List, but the Academy was more than ready to reward Spielberg once again. All signs pointing to a surefire win for director and a likely victory for picture. The precursor awards showed that nothing could beat Saving Private Ryan. It won Motion Picture Drama and Director at the Golden Globes, Picture and Director at the Critics' Choice Awards, Spielberg won DGA, the ensemble was nominated at SAG, and then the film earned a whopping 11 Oscar nominations. It was the film of the year, one everyone could love, or at least admire, and it seemed a certainty that for the record books, it would go down as an Academy Award winner for Best Picture. So how did Shakespeare in Love take the final prize, and shock the members of the audience and everyone at home? Here are the top 5 reasons. Reason number 1. It's silly, it's shallow, but despite the occasional exception, films released in the fall or winter have better Oscar odds than films released in the summer or spring. As Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel talked about on their show all the time, Academy members have short attention spans, and a great movie released the previous April won't be remembered as well as a great or even good movie released, say, in October.
Remember the buzz on this picture back in the summer when it came out? If the Oscars nomination list had been July 1st, this picture would have been a shoo-in.
We have talked about this every year, and that is that 85% of all the nominations are for movies that were released in the fall, and usually in December.
Saving Private Ryan came out in July, 8 months before the Oscar ceremony, versus Shakespeare in Love, which didn't hit theaters until December, and then went wider and wider throughout the early part of 1999. In a way, Saving Private Ryan was kind of old news, and Shakespeare in Love was the shiny new object Academy members were admiring in those few crucial weeks of voting. I would go as far as to say that if Shakespeare in Love had been released in July, and Saving Private Ryan had been released in December, the latter film, without a shadow of a doubt, would have won Best Picture. Reason number 2. Although Saving Private Ryan did extremely well in its number of Oscar nominations at 11, Shakespeare in Love actually beat it by 2. earning 13 nominations total. Like with all statistics when it comes to the Academy Awards, there are, of course, some outliers, but one statistic that usually makes a movie's chances for Best Picture pretty clear is how many nominations it received in comparison to the other Best Picture nominees. More nominations means more love for the film and more fans from the Academy. When a movie overperforms at the nomination level, showing up in categories few expected it to, that can be a telltale sign as to what might win picture. Take the acting categories, for example, between the two frontrunners of the race. Tom Hanks earned an expected Best Actor nomination for Saving Private Ryan, but none of the supporting performances were recognized, like Tom Sizemore, Matt Damon, or Jeremy Davies. But when it came to Shakespeare in Love, Gwyneth Paltrow received her expected nomination, while both Geoffrey Rush and Judi Dench also earned supporting nominations, showing from the actors branch especially more admiration for Shakespeare in Love than Saving Private Ryan. Reason number 3. Indeed, the large acting branch of the Academy was a bigger fan of Shakespeare in Love, and that passion from actors can take a film a long way, like earning Crash its surprise Best Picture win in 2006, and Parasite its big victory in 2020. Although most would agree Saving Private Ryan as a whole is a better movie, and is more of an obvious and worthy Best Picture winner, Shakespeare in Love that year was the cool alternative, something fun and entertaining that brought together an outstanding ensemble cast that included Rush, who had just won his Oscar for Shine 2 years prior, and Dench, who Academy members awarded that night in the Best Supporting Actress category for her performance as Elizabeth I, the same role Cate Blanchett was nominated for in the same evening. Dench winning for a performance that lasted only 8 minutes in a 2-hour film showed that audiences, and especially actors, really loved this movie.
I feel for 8 minutes on the screen, I should only get a little bit of him.
The other big sign that actors would be polling for Shakespeare in Love to win on Oscar night came a few weeks before at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, when the film won the highly coveted Outstanding Performance by a Cast in a Motion Picture. This award doesn't always guarantee Oscar success. Sideways took it in 2005, then only won Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards ceremony a few weeks later. There's The Trial of the Chicago 7, Hidden Figures, American Hustle, all big SAG winners that didn't go on to nab Best Picture. But when you look at the more shocking picture winners of the last 20 plus years, often you can turn to the SAG Ensemble Prize. Crash's win there in 2006, giving the movie the momentum it needed to squeak past Brokeback Mountain for a victory on Oscar night, along with Parasite in 2020, which was doing well, but then received such astonishing enthusiasm upon a SAG win that everyone started to think maybe a foreign language movie could finally pull off Best Picture. Reason number 4. The opening sequence of Saving Private Ryan was so intense, so innovative, so incredible in every way, there were likely enough Academy members who thought nothing that came after that matched the brilliance of those opening minutes, versus Shakespeare in Love, which had no one single amazing sequence, but was more of an adored movie for the whole of it, not just a single part. Even the biggest fans of Saving Private Ryan would likely admit little throughout the rest of the film ever reaches the dramatic power of that tremendous opening sequence. And so when the final votes were being cast, this could have been enough of a mentality by some Academy members to get them to mark their ballot for Shakespeare in Love. Or maybe they were just told to think that way. Terry Press, an executive at DreamWorks at the time, claimed that the higher-ups at Miramax tried to get everybody to believe that Saving Private Ryan was all in the first 15 minutes. Alas, this was not the case of voters merely picking the movie they liked better. There was more going on behind the scenes, more questionable tactics that led to the controversial win for Shakespeare in Love, and many of those tactics were the result of one man. Okay, deep breath. I know you've been waiting for it. I can't avoid it any longer. Reason number 5. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture at the 1999 Academy Awards was this guy. Former film producer and convicted sex offender Harvey Weinstein formed his production company Miramax with his brother Bob in the late 1970s. And in the 1990s, they were one of the biggest players in the Oscars game, starting with the overperformance of The Crying Game in 1993, followed by The Piano, Pulp Fiction, Il Postino, The English Patient, and Good Will Hunting. In 1999, Miramax had 2 films overperform, Life is Beautiful and Shakespeare in Love, but Weinstein put most of his attention on the latter movie, doing anything he so well desired to ensure a Best Picture win. The rigorous awards campaign was unlike anything that had ever been attempted. Weinstein strong-arming the film's talent into participating in loads and loads of press.
Are you here of your own free will? Has someone coerced you into being here?
Do you count Harvey Weinstein as a coercer?
Mark Gill, an executive at Miramax at the time, claimed that Weinstein had a reliance on relatively cheap publicity. He stated, "This was not saying to the stars, okay, you can go on a couple of talk shows to open the movie and do a weekend of interviews at a junket, and thanks so much for helping. That was just good morning. You've got 3 more months of shaking hands and kissing babies in you." The stars were everywhere, on magazine covers, at red carpet events, the film becoming a phenomenon during that long stretch of time between the Christmas holiday and Oscars night in late March. I personally remember at age 14 being so inundated by ads and promotion for the film that I felt in a way obligated to see it, and I'm sure many felt the same. Saving Private Ryan was the film of the moment in summer 1998, but Shakespeare in Love was the film of the moment in spring 1999, that important time when Academy members were making up their minds about their Best Picture vote. According to a 2017 Variety Fair article, Harvey Weinstein ticked off Academy brass by paying for a Welcome to America party for Shakespeare in Love's director John Madden, who was British, and inviting Academy members to attend, appearing to violate a 1997 rule that deemed such receptions improper. He also deployed numerous consultants to lobby the members and started negative whisper campaigns about Saving Private Ryan. Weinstein also pushed the novelty of Shakespeare in Love, the cozy enjoyment of seeing actors and writers dramatize on the screen. As a literate love story posing what might have been the inspiration for Shakespeare's first theatrical hit, it made its mark instantly with many of us, said Tony Angelotti, an Academy member and publicist whom Weinstein hired as a consultant on the film. It was also, at its heart, he said, about the creative process. In addition, Weinstein recognized that Shakespeare in Love played better at home than Saving Private Ryan did, so he sent out tons of VHS screeners to Academy members, ensuring every last person get a chance to watch it in a setting that benefited his frontrunner movie over the other.
He was a very, very important figure in my life. He was my main boss. He gave me incredible opportunity, and yet, during that time, we had a very, very fraught, complicated relationship.
And so, with all those reasons considered, all those strategies put into place, and enough people falling under the spell of a film that put their passion for Saving Private Ryan in the rearview mirror, Harrison Ford announced Shakespeare in Love as the Best Picture winner of 1998, one of the most unexpected and infamous victories in Academy Awards history. In 2015, The Hollywood Reporter claimed to have interviewed hundreds of Academy members who indicated that, having to choose between Shakespeare in Love and Saving Private Ryan, a majority of them would award the Oscar for Best Picture to the latter. And it seems that's the way most of us feel today. Saving Private Ryan was such an obvious choice for the top award that sometimes we have to take a second now to remember that the movie lost, and Shakespeare in Love was crowned Best Picture instead. It's the awards race that still feels slightly icky, a win that doesn't seem fully earned, a whopping 5 producers hogging that Oscar stage instead of the typical 2 or 3, including Weinstein himself, for a single night reaching one of the highest peaks of his industry before a couple of decades later, everything finally came crashing down for good. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below which of the 5 nominees you think should have won Best Picture. Was Saving Private Ryan and DreamWorks robbed of the top award? See you next time.